Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Political Matrix News, where we use our 30 years of individual experience, not even combined, it's individual, 16 years combined experience as political consultants to kind of help decode what's going on in the news and all the political narratives that are really not what they appear to be.
Not code out there.
Yeah, it's
all fake. I mean, look at the protesting. I mean, these guys get paid $180,000 a year. They grab a stick and yell. They were writing songs about Musk and Trump. And it's so cute. Now these 80-year-old politicians who are elected to office in their 80s, by the way, singing and chanting songs about how they're coming to hurt them and everything. It's just...
I'm Scott Miller. This is my partner, Greg Fink, and we are the Political Matrix.
Yes, we are.
The Democrats just cannot get out of their own way. I mean, they really can't. You know, what people don't understand.
Fun to watch.
Well, it is fun to watch, but there's actually a method to their madness, and has nothing to do with solving problems, because it's never had anything to do with solving problems. The reason that they are making all the allegations that they're making and saying all the crackpot, crazy, clearly ridiculous things that they're saying is because it amps up their fundraising. I mean, they're as bad as Kamala. You know, Kamala's campaign team. You know, if you put a lie detector on them, would tell you that they never believed she would win. There was never a point in that campaign where she was even close.
$1 billion on 12 weeks.
$1 billion. And that's why they kept running the campaign, because, nobody gets paid if she concedes. And so they pretended the whole time like she was going to win. And to be fair, that is the correct course of action. You stay in the game and keep kind of rolling and doing what you've been doing. If you can't win, maybe something happens. Maybe the guy has a heart attack. Maybe we discover that he's been molesting children or something like that. Maybe for some reason he has to drop out of a race.
A lot of times the messages also need to be projected and everything. I mean, not all the time does a winner have every single message correct. A lot of times the losers do have really good messages out there, and the winners will adopt their message after they get elected. And so, I mean, there's all types of reasons for a lot of people to stay in the races that people don't really understand. Like, why is this person even in the race? A lot of it has to do with, sometimes they're single message campaigns or they're multi-message campaigns, but just one of the messages that's not being picked up enough by the person who's winning is being projected at a very good rate by the person who's losing. Now, granted, they might lose the election, but the winner is most likely, if it's a good issue, and it's really about people first instead of, back pocket first, then the winner's probably going to go ahead and take that issue and adopt that issue and triangulate it. And basically, they'll steal that issue and make it a part of their plan. If not during the campaign, then after the campaign. And so, I mean, there's a lot of really good reasons for people to stay in the races. Now, but Camilla, I have no idea. I don't know any good reason at all for her to stay in the race at all, except to save face, and she was the current vice president, and they had to keep the money train going. But once the money train ended...
Well, the reality is that you don't know how much of this money she got to keep.
That's very true. We have no idea how much, a lot of these reports and everything are real or not. I mean, we've seen a lot of congressional people who make up the entire expenditure sheets, and none of them are real. And it's a reality, guys. I mean, politics is a messy business. And I've talked to a lot of people who are very angry with us, and angry with me for taking light about all these people who are being fired and all these people who are being terminated. I'm like, unless, and I hate to be mean about it, but unless you've seen their personnel file and I've seen their personnel file, I don't think we have any business whatsoever having an opinion on who is or is not being terminated or keeping their job. I'm not privy to any of the information. I'm not in charge of that area. And neither are the people who are protesting either. People, these guys who've been on the job for 30 or 40 years, A lot of the times they're doing jobs that are not relevant or existing anymore. A lot of times they're just, buying time. And I mean, I've seen that a lot in the industry of federal, state, and local governmental environments, a lot. In fact, we had talked about before about trimming out staff and everything else and transferring staff out of the way, because staff in the bureaucratic world is actually the most powerful part of the entire government. I mean, they're more powerful than the elected officials. They're more powerful than the people who are voting for the voters. They're the ones that control the Rolodex, they control the front door, they control the back door, they control the checkbooks. They're the ones who are in that ear of the person, like, maybe you should like this, maybe you should look at that, maybe you should go this way, maybe you should go that way, maybe you should give this other person a second thought or a third thought or a fourth thought. And people covet those positions. They want to be the chiefs of staff. They want to be the clerks. Those positions are power, period.
Well, there's a lot of power, but not more power than the elected official. But when they combine themselves, they can circumvent the elected official.
They also outlast them.
Outlast them, but I mean, you piss off the right elected official to the right degree, and you will get fired.
Unless you're in a state that the union protects you and you cannot get fired. And they can be miserable for you. They can make it very miserable for you a lot of times. If they can't fire you because the union is really strong, they'll make you want to fire or want to quit.
They can make you miserable, but you can fire them for insubordination.
Right.
I mean, there's no union that can protect you from insubordination. As long as, the only caveat to that is that if what you're being insubordinate about is something that you're not required to do to begin with.
Right.
So that would be it. If these elected officials come and give you a direct order, yes, you do have to do. On the executive side, you have to do exactly what they say. On the congressional side, they'll just write your money up. My cousin was a legislator, and he said there have been a few times that they had been told agency heads that he'd have a meeting with. He had a meeting one time with the head of the Fish and Wildlife Commission, because the Fish and Wildlife Commission, there was a game warden that was out of control. I mean, he was fining people for doing legal things. In this case, it was deer depredation at farms and stuff like that. And his solution was, well, all those farmers need to just put up bigger fences around their property. They won't have to worry about deer coming in and eating all their food, eating all their crops. So Greg's solution to that was to call up the colonel at the FWC, the Fish and Wildlife Commission, and tell him and ask him, how much does this guy make? Because that's how much we're cutting out of your budget.
Right.
And that's how much I'm going to have cut out of his budget every week until he's not up here anymore. Because he didn't even get him fired. He just made him transfer him. So that's an example of things that legislators can do. I mean, they start screwing around with budgets, and the agency heads get very, very sensitive to that.
Then you take it out to the local level. Then you have the issue here that we're having here in Florida, where they're actually trying to get rid of the property tax, which affects the local budgeting greatly.
Yeah, that's an interesting ambition, but I don't know how they're going to get that done, because you got to have revenue from somewhere.
Yeah, I think they have three different ideas for a different revenue. One idea is to raise the sales tax in Florida to a higher percentage rate. The other one is to possibly introduce a income tax in Florida.
No.
Yes, guys, to introduce the income tax. That's a wonderful idea, which I do not think will ever pass any world that we could ever live in.
Regardless of my feelings about the income tax, which are, well, actually, I'll be perfectly upfront and say it's negative. I think it's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
But how do you sell a state income tax at the same time that Trump is trying to eliminate the federal income tax?
Exactly. And the third idea is to increase the sales tax base. Because right now in Florida, you're capped at $5,000. So anything over $5,001 is not taxed anymore.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Go ahead.
That is absolutely not true, Greg.
Okay.
Because I get invoices all the time for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 that have sales tax applied to them.
Yeah, you're right. But whenever you look at, if you do the purchase inside of the state of Florida, the first $5,000 is sales tax, and after $5,000, After
Only the
5,000, it's
local
not
option
taxed
sales tax.
anymore.
Only the local option sales tax caps out at 5,000.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and check on that here.
Yeah, you don't have to
Now,
check on it. You don't have. Greg,
I
I've
talked to
had this debate.
I talked to three guys in Tallahassee today. He told me that the cap was on 5,000 and everything. And so,
Well, they didn't explain it right to you, because I'm telling you that I have, yeah, because this is part of my job. You know, I got to buy millions of dollars worth of building materials every year,
yeah.
and I've always had to fight with these suppliers because none of the suppliers get it right until I gripe at them enough.
Okay.
And I've got all the. And I have to send them the documents from the Department of Revenue that talks about how the Florida sales tax is 6%. And the local option sales tax is capped at 5,000. So in Escambia County, we're at 7.5%. It's, you know, when someone gives me a $50,000 invoice, then it's, you know, 6% times 50,000 plus what was it, $150 or something like that.
I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's right now it says here discretionary sales tax applies to the first 5,000 of the sales tax amount of the sale, use, lease, rental, or license use of items of tangible personal property tax.
Right. Discretionary sales tax is the new term for local option sales tax.
Okay, so that's what they call that. It's been called loss for such a long time.
I know, right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a
so
sign
maybe
at the beginning of
raise
this.
the cap on that, and so maybe they should raise the cap on that to 50,000 or something like that. And that's what they're talking about doing, raising that.
If they do that, then the money goes straight to the counties.
Right. And so if they raise the discretionary amount or the cap on the local option sales tax, then that would take care of that.
Well, they'll take care of the counties, but they ain't gonna do nothing for the state.
No, well, I mean, that's the whole thing. The property tax doesn't go to the state anyway. Property tax goes to it is all for the counties. Property tax will fund your EMS, your police, your schools, and stuff like that.
Well, then you are right. In that case, you're right, because if that's the case, that they will. I mean, it is a viable option.
Right.
So if that's all they're talking about, then yeah, that's very viable.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, the main people it's going to affect would be all the millions of people that buy tractors, which not that many, or the people that buy houses or cars. And so,
and the builders who buy building materials.
Builders, but you know, there's not that many of them. This is Florida, for God's sake.
Well, that's me. But I mean, yeah, but
you're going to pass it on to the customer. It's like a tariff, okay? You're going to pass it on,
and that is exactly true.
Exactly.
I'm not paying that tax.
And so I think the whole idea. I mean, the last time this came up was back in 2004 or maybe 2006. Rubio, actually, our Secretary of State, by the way, Marco Rubio was the Speaker of the House at the time. The last time this came up, of getting rid of the sales tax. I mean, getting rid of the property taxes. And I mean, because the sales tax is a regressive tax. I mean, it just is. Granted, it's a tax on the poor. But if you raise the amount, it'll be a tax on the poor and the people who are paying a lot more as well, the middle income and the wealthy. So it'll be a tax on everybody almost nearly equally, because most poor people aren't buying anything at $50,000, $40,000. Most poor people are not buying anything at, the cars that high level, or houses are at that level. And also, you got to realize the last time they put this in place, houses were selling for a whopping $100,000 and $90,000, and cars were selling for a whopping $5,000 or $10,000. I mean, it wasn't really expensive back then, as compared to how it is now, where your $10,000 car back in the 90s is now going for $50,000 now, or $40,000 now. Your houses back then, I mean, everything's starting at $400,000 as your average house. New house in the state of Florida right now. And right now, I think the average, the median sales tax or property tax in Florida is $3,100, which is very high. And in fact, it's supposed to be one of the highest property taxes in the country. Now, granted,
right.
That's a big issue. Another big issue, everybody wants to talk about the insurance.
Uh, well, well, wait a second. $70. Wow. So how do I say this? $70 per $100 or 70 cents per $100, which is so okay. So on the only way that houses aren't taxed with sales tax per se, but you do get a dock stamp on houses that
Right,
have
that's true. Yeah.
loans, and that is 70 cents per $100. So it's 0.7 cents. So it's point
Maybe they could
zero.
rewrite the system. Maybe they could rewrite the code to where it does affect it. I mean,
Well, I mean, the dock stamp part of it. That's that affects home buyers. All right, that doesn't affect. Yeah, look, they're going to get plenty. Well, I guess they're not going to get plenty of taxes on the house.
we got to find a way. I mean, if you're going to take all that revenue out, you got to find a. I mean, it's not like we can do without any more law enforcement or EMS. I mean, we just can't be cutting budgets at a local level to the degree that they are wanting them to do it so quickly. And if they do, then it's going to be kind of weird. I mean, it's going to be tough.
Well, let me tell you what the nice thing about sales taxes are versus property taxes, and that's that you have to get permission to raise the property tax. Okay,
Right.
but with the sales tax, as people start moving to your area and start and you get
Start
more and
buying.
more intense use of the stuff, the tax revenue just goes up. As
Yeah.
In real time, as it's happening, you don't have to argue with people about what the value of the thing you're taxing is, because it is what it is.
Yeah, because in Florida, with it being such a tourism state and a pass-through state, majority of people that are paying the majority of sales tax don't even live here. And so
Well,
that being
a huge chunk of it for
a
sure.
huge chunk of it is, I mean, not majority, a huge chunk don't even live here. And so that being said, I mean, that is a very good part of it. However, you still have to have enough money here to make everything work. And right now, Florida's running a surplus, but I guess Don Gates had given a speech a couple weeks ago saying that we're going to be running a deficit here in about 2 years. And so we're going to be out of the surplus money. And so we're going to be
We'll be running
running
a deficit. Absolutely, we'll be right done with us.
no, well, he's basically addressing it to the stimulus money that we got during COVID is going to be gone in about 2 years. And so there's going to be a search for more revenue and less expenses and everything. And so, I mean, to balance it out, it's going to be a lot tougher. And so, I mean, right now, the teachers are still poorly paid. Cops are still poorly paid. I mean, most of our EMS and our regular government workers are not that highly or well paid at all. And, our schools are deplorable as far as the educational standards go nationwide comparatively. And obviously, you can't just throw money at that because they won't have anything to throw at it, and it's not even working out what they are throwing at it. I mean, well, at least with schools, you can do school choice. You can't do EMS choice or police choice, or you can't.
No, but
You're not going to fix
now
that.
that we're going to start, now that we're cutting all this DEI crap out of these departments, various departments, they will have some more money to put with things like
That might
paying teachers.
exactly. That's the reason why I think maybe there needs to be like a Doge in Florida, like where all the waste is here, and I think that
Maybe we should look into that.
yeah, I think we should definitely look into that. I think we'll be talking about that here a lot more in the future about looking at where all the waste is throughout the different counties, municipalities, throughout Florida.
Well, there's a lot. People like the
Especially the
status
school
quo
system.
because it's predictable.
It is.
They can plan like a couple of years in advance and say, okay, because I know this is this way. If I put my resources here, then I can, then I'll be able to make good money. But it's so you get fights for things that are even bad because the devil that you know is better than the devil you don't know. But
Exactly.
Trump promises a golden age of America. I mean, 3 or 4, now almost 4 weeks in, looks like we're fast approaching it.
Well, I think what is interesting is that how Trump is promising the golden age of America while we have a lame duck governor who's doing everything he can to make sure there's no lameness in his duckiness. I mean, he's going out with chariots of fire. I mean, all the way to the point where he has his wife getting polled numerously now as becoming the next governor of Florida, Casey. She's ahead again in a new poll today. Of course, that it's had nothing to do with it. But he's running wonderful commercials for her. Whenever he talks to people about how wonderful his wife is.
And he can look. I may ultimately be proven wrong, but historically, voters do not like dynasties like that.
No,
because it always feels like you're just kind of, throwing your wife in there who has absolutely no political history whatsoever. You want to throw her into the highest office in a state.
Exactly.
And everyone just sees it as you trying to circumvent the law. If you want to change the law, but don't circumvent it through fiat.
I mean, the only two areas of the country that like dynasty types will be the only similarities would be the Gates family and the Panhandle, the Meeks family in Miami. But everywhere in between, there's not really too much of a love affair with a family helping out other family run. I mean, especially with the last name in a short time period. Now, granted, for a long period of time, you had the Broxtons and you have other large families who did a lot of stuff over like 4 or 5 generations.
Yeah,
but not like
you're
back like this.
No, and your brains kind of get a little fogged because you're seeming to think that you seem to forget that the way that Matt won his initial race was because his signs said Gates. It didn't say Matt Gates. They said Gates for House, and people who had already voted for his dad thought, oh okay, we're going to vote for him again. I don't know why we're voting for him again, but here we are. Well, I thought he was in the Senate. And I mean, it's just this idiotic thing that they do to confuse voters. And it worked. And that worked.
It wasn't my brain being foggy. I was trying to be nice and selective about that. I mean, the reality here is the only reason Matt got into fucking office was because he had a predecessor. He tried to have him put in jail for not covering up for family deeds that were done earlier in life.
Oh, no. They
But since he's a private citizen, I'm not going to say too much else.
Yeah. Well, we are almost shed of that crew, and soon we will be, and I cannot wait for that day.
Yeah, because he's also on the poll for governor, and he's behind DeSantis, Casey DeSantis, that is. So Casey's leading the poll. My guy is Byron Donalds at this current point in time. That's who I'd like to run for governor. Yeah, so I think Byron Donalds is doing a great job as a congressman. He's done a great job with the Trump agenda. He's done really, really well. I mean, he's practicing what he preaches. He's as far as I know, man, a really good character. I think he'd do a great job as a governor. And he's from Naples, and he has a really good story behind himself and everything. So, I like him at this current point in time. Now, the race is very far out, so we'll see how everything here changes up. We'll see who all ends up running, actually.
Well, I am very skeptical of Matt's ability, especially by the way that he left office. I'm very skeptical of his ability to win a statewide race.
Glory. No, glory. Blades of unglory. He left in such a wonderful way. But you got to realize that he's the only cabinet guy that didn't get picked.
Well, I still feel like he was put up there as a joke, but whatever.
And you know what? That might be a possibility.
Well, honest. I mean, in all seriousness, I think that I think we said this initially when he pulled out that this was just a way. If he knew he didn't have a prayer of getting confirmed in the Senate. No. And although I mean, granted, you swing for the fences and see what happens, and for that much, I would have supported that. But at the end of the day, he was never going to get elected. But what was going to happen was he was terrified of that whole, committee hearing, honest committee records getting tossed out and, out into the world.
Right.
And really seriously bad things happening to him that he had no way of controlling. So I personally do believe that even though he would have accepted the position if he could have been confirmed, I think he knew from the outset that him getting confirmed was way, way, way on the outside chances.
Right. Yeah, I think he was on a podcast with Bill Maher a couple of weeks ago. I think we had mentioned that, and he seems to be much more relaxed at this point in time in his life at this current moment. But that being said, I think Pam Bondi's doing a great job in DC as the
could not have
great
been
man.
more happy. I could not have been more happy to find out that she was going to be the nominee, and the way that she's conducted herself so far is tremendous.
I think it's wonderful how she's actually suing the states instead of the states suing the federal government, like it was in the other term. Now she's suing them for their their status, their what's it called?
I don't know.
Their protective status of the immigrations and everything, of the immigrants.
Oh, they're sanctuaries.
Sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever the mayor of New York was actually communicating with Tom Homan, who's in charge of the border and everything, and he was communicating with Trump, they're trying to say it's a quid pro quo. It's not a quid pro quo for him to do his job. Okay? There's no quid pro quo. You're doing your constitutionally based job. You're the mayor of New York City, the largest city in America. You're the mayor of the world, basically, and your job is to enforce the Constitution of the United States and New York City and New York and everything else, and enforce all the laws. There's no quid pro quo at all here, period. I don't know. No idea if you guys even know what it means.
No, they don't. I mean, they really should not use big words that they don't understand. It is ridiculous.
I have it all the time.
Yeah, they're just dumb, and the thing that they like to leave out very important points. Like I was just watching a video about Rachel Maddow complaining about Elon Musk getting a $400 million deal or some crap like that. Right. And only come to find that, and she's trying to imply all manner of corruption, and she ultimately had to apologize for this. God knows what kind of gun they had to hold to her head to get her to do it. But she had to apologize because the person who authorized that expenditure was Joe Biden a long time ago, and then the deal fell through.
Yeah,
probably because he associated himself with Donald Trump. So if you want to look at some sort of corruption or graft, go look at the people who killed that deal.
Exactly.
Because they killed it because he was associated with Trump.
Well, the Trump generation syndrome is very, very high totally across the media as well, but it is getting lower. I do seem to see most of the people at MSNBC are not as hair on fire as they were 8 years ago. They seem to be realizing they want to keep their jobs a little bit longer and to be a little bit more credible and more rational. Now, CNN...
I think their bosses are deciding that they want to keep their viewers a little bit longer.
Exactly. Now, CNN's, it's really what you pick, but CBS, I think CBS is trying to get rid of their licensing for news or anything else they got licensed for, because CBS is now comparing, a video here we'll be showing about them comparing the Holocaust to being inspired by free speech. And
well, what they said specifically was that it was due to weaponized free speech.
Yeah, weaponized. Everything's weaponized.
I just thought that was hilarious when I read it. Talk about people using big words they don't understand. It is just unreal. The things that they say, and the bottom line is, I understand why. Was it Michelle Brennan? I think it was whoever does face the nation.
It's Margaret Brennan.
Margaret. But I understand why she's confused. Because Nancy Germany had the same free speech policies that CBS and Democrats are dreaming of. As long as you say the things that agree with the official government talking points and don't violate the prohibited speech, Well, you can say anything that you want,
Right.
which is that's free speech, right?
Yes. Exactly
I
what
think
they want. And I mean, it's just sad. It's just so sad how the mainstream media is so far behind, and they should not be. They get paid pretty good. They get paid pretty well, and it should be
well, I
more.
mean, the thing that prompted that whole little freedom of speech thing was when J.D. Vance was in Munich talking to I think it was the EU or NATO or both or whatever. I think actually it was an EU meeting of some kind, and he's just telling them that about free speech and how they how Europe doesn't protect free speech like they used to. Europe has jailed more people for speech code violations than Russia has for any purpose regarding speech. I mean, you would think that in Russia you say the wrong thing about Vladimir Putin and you find yourself on the business end of a gulag, but but not nearly to the degree that you can't. Even just in England, they jail thousands of people a year for posting the wrong thing on the internet. Posting
Right.
in Germany, and then what was it? I don't know if it was an American 60 Minutes or if it was a 60 Minutes over
It's
a European
American, yeah.
edition or something.
It's American.
But they went along with the German police as they were conducting
Exactly.
raids all over the city,
Mm-hmm.
arresting people for hate speech. Arresting them. Now,
Yeah.
this is the sort of thing that you kind of expect in Germans because they got a long history doing it.
And
But
this
it
is
doesn't
what
make it right.
yeah, this is what the people on the left, I guess, are welcoming or wanting here in America. Is this really what you guys want? I actually don't think it is. I don't think
It absolutely is what they want because then they can control the narrative. If they can prohibit me from saying
That's right.
things counter to them, then they win.
Yeah, well, that's where I think a lot of the people who are on the left don't really know what the leaders of the left are really all about. And that's where I don't think that they're really fully communicating with the people who are following them in the streets. Hey, we want to arrest your cousin. If they say this, they're going to be like, what? Huh? What? We're not here for a protest. And we want to arrest them and beat them up in jail and hurt them and stuff like that and endanger them just for their speech. I think once it breaks down and people start realizing it, coming to affecting them directly, they get a big wake-up call. And I think that's one reason why we're seeing a lot of people leaving the left and coming over to the right. We see a huge drain on the Democrat side. And they might not be going Republican, they might be going MPA. They are definitely not saying Democrat. I mean, right now, even with other controversy going on, Trump is still in his 60s. He's still in his 60s. They're saying Trump's approval ratings are dropping with, Generation Z. I'm like, who gives a fuck?
You can find a demographic that he's not doing well with, but that demographic ain't people that vote.
No, they're not. So
if they ain't voting,
voters.
If they're not voting, we don't care about them. If you don't bother to show up for me, why am I going to bother to show up for you?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean,
and I want to serve you even if I know you voted for the other guy because I know you're voting and you're participating in the process. But you're someone that's just going to sit on the sidelines and bitch. I don't care what you think because you don't know enough to make it legitimately complain anyway.
People need to actually do some legitimate research and actually realize what the real issues are and what's being cut, what's not being cut. And really, I mean, ask the hard questions, is the government managing their budget this way? Or they're managing free speech this way? And how would you handle it in your household? I mean, are you going to treat your household income the same manner as which the government's treating their income? Are you just going to let your kids go around and curse you and beat you up verbally and everything else? Are you just going to allow that? No, you're not. The whole idea here is that, free speech is a very powerful thing. But at the same time, the government's the one that go ahead and come and tell you what you can and can't say. That's a job for the parents and the family, not the job for the government, period. And the government is not the family. In a socialist world, the government is a family. The government is your bread maker, it's your mama, it's your papa, it's everything. That's why they call it socialism and communism. That's the way it is over there.
Yeah,
we don't want that.
I was watching an interview earlier today where a guy was talking about how he had posted some things critical of a British politician. I mean, and it was some spicy language that accused him of some really. I mean, I guess they were accusations of illegality and stuff like that, but those weren't even the parts that they were concerned about. It was the name calling, because they were calling him some names too. And this guy was an American journalist, and he had friends in England who were barristers over there, and they told him, said, "Look, you might want to take that down because there are legal provisions that would allow England to prosecute you and compel you to come to England."
Really?
And I think that they were being a little more. I think they were overestimating the appetite for doing that, and certainly the appetite of the American. I guarantee you, Donald Trump would not sanction the export of any American to be prosecuted for speech violations in a foreign country. I don't care how close friends we are with them.
No, I don't think so at all.
Pound sand, buddy.
Ridiculous. I mean, that's a very, very sanctimonious there on their part to think that they're so wonderful of a nation to where they get extradite us about our free speech.
Good luck. Well, in their mind, that you're doing it, because it's on the internet. Then I guess they're asserting that they've got jurisdiction over the internet, but they are.
Yeah, jurisdiction over the internet, really?
Yeah. Well, that's just the sort of thing.
No, baby. How many people live in England? Well, the
She
size
don't know.
of 2 states here. Let's look at it. We have this here wonderful thing called the internet here on our wonderful podcast. And you looking it up? How many people live in England?
It's 7 million.
Okay, so it's about the size of Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. That's southeast.
Let me try one thing though, to make sure I'm not wrong. Wait, what? Well, all right. So what's the population? I love ChatGPT, but sometimes it just makes me grind my teeth.
I got 56 million here. That's
68 million for the United Kingdom.
yeah.
England is just a part of the United Kingdom.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the United Kingdom consists of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So, I mean, you got to include those guys in the whole thing.
So basically, you're looking at 2 Floridas.
Basically.
Yeah, basically. I mean, not very big. Not especially for them to have so much power over the internet. They get like guys. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. The whole legal procedure.
I said they believed they had jurisdiction. I didn't say they had jurisdiction.
Well, no, I mean, America is the creator of everything, and people need to realize we're the superpower. Everybody needs to get behind us. That's it. I mean, this whole thing with Gaza. I mean, we got, it doesn't look like it's going to be Trump Towers or Trump Hotel in Gaza anymore. But what we do have is we're creating buy-in from the region to go ahead and clean that area up and get it up to some sort of livable standards instead of having the Palestinians live in rubble.
Right. Well, think about it like this: if Trump had just come out and say, "Okay, we're going to pull together a group of countries in the region to get together and come up with a real plan for what we're going to do with Gaza," then they would have hemmed and hawed. They'd have probably had their big summit, and nothing would have happened.
Exactly.
But when you propose something that no one in the region is going to like, now all of a sudden they're motivated to come and talk to you about.
It's what you call peeling off the ceiling. Peeling them
off the ceiling.
Exactly, and that's what Trump is doing. He's very good at peeling them off the ceiling because you got to realize
what makes him so good at it. What makes him so good at it is that he's serious.
He is.
So
because the Palestinians tried to overtake Jordan a couple of times. They tried to overtake Saudi. I mean, they're confrontational people with the other parts of the Arabian community, which maybe they just I don't know why they're so confrontational. Maybe they should settle down a little bit and be happy. They're free.
As a culture, they're trained that way from birth.
That's true.
Because they're living and absorbing these talking points of the Hamas and
Hezbollah.
And so Hezbollah, just forces these narratives from the time these guys are coming out of the womb.
I mean,
So so
that's
there's
what it
no
is.
place that you can put. You can put them wherever you want to, but you're going to have to deprogram them.
Exactly. I mean, and that sounds horrible when I say, "Oh, you're going to deprogram them." No, we want to take the terrorists out of the people.
Yeah,
We want to
exactly.
take the heart of terrorism out of them, out of the individuals, and I think it's possible to do. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a hell of a lot of work.
They never thought that Northern and Southern Ireland would stop fighting and bombing each other.
Exactly. They have.
And yet here we are, decades later. Eventually, you have to stop obsessing over the sins of the past, because everyone's got them. The
Exactly.
Israelis have their own sins. The Palestinians have their own. We got to look past these things at some point and just go, okay, we were fighting. We were in a state of war. We're not in a state of war now. We're going to start mending fences.
Yeah,
And
because you got to realize Israel is not really arguing about a large geographical part of land here. I mean, it's historical more or less, and the Palestinians have access to millions and millions of miles of land that they can relocate in if they could find a way to relocate to a place where they're not trying to kill everybody around them.
Right.
And that would be the first start, is quit trying to kill your neighbor. Stop it. And it's like the cartels. And now we got Trump finally identifying the drug cartels as terrorist groups.
I love this.
And I mean,
I love this so much.
It's awesome and we have, El Salvador is offering to help jail our prisoners up here. Even non-immigration prisoners are helping. They want to help jail because, they just like to put people in jail, I guess, in El Salvador. I have no idea what their theory is, but if they want to help, they want to help. That's great. But, I mean, what Trump is doing by identifying the cartels as terrorists, it's awesome.
Well, you got to understand the ramifications of what he's doing and why he's doing it. We've tried for decades to get Mexico, with varying degrees of success, to help us fight these narco traffickers. And now at this point, for the first time, now that these guys are actually designated as a terrorist organization, if Mexico doesn't do something about it, then, and we identify some area where these are, and using our advanced technology, and we identify places where these guys are holed up, we'll just go throw some Mavericks on those guys and start, or some JDAMs, and a SEAL strike team, and go in there and kill every one of them.
Kind of like what they did in the last episode of Landman.
We don't have to worry about them.
If anybody has not seen the episode of Landman on Paramount with Billy Bob Thornton, if you watch the last episode, they actually had the Army National Guard doing military exercises out there in the border area of Midland, Texas, because that's where the oil fields are. And the cartels are out there also doing their drug dealing. And so basically, in order to scare off the drug cartels, they're wanting the military to do some sort of like just exercises and just some military training. And so they assumed that this old beat up clunker car was a prop for a missile. They didn't shoot on purpose, but they shot it, still with their wonderful, wonderful helicopters that were shooting out missiles and bombs, and they blew up part of the cartel. And the cartel got very angry about that. And then, of course, we have no idea what happens because it closed out the season, the season. So we'll see in season 2 what happens. But the same kind of idea that works. I mean, the military exercising, the military treating these cartels as terrorists on purpose is going to make a difference.
Well, I know what happened, and actually what happens in it is probably what will happen with, when Trump starts going to this. But let's apply this to a real world example. Back when we had the Medellin cartels and stuff like that, we knew where their villas were. We knew where all of these things were. And that's the thing. These narco traffickers, there are few people who are more high profile than these guys. When they start raking in these millions of dollars and stuff like that from satellites, their homes are not hard to find.
They celebrate their excess. They're excessive on purpose.
They exceed like nobody's business, and so
Scarface,
okay,
baby.
you want to keep doing that? Well, we'll send a dang strike team of a combination of Delta Force and Navy SEALs
Right.
and whatever, Green Berets, whatever we can come up with, or whatever happens to be convenient to fit the mission profile, and everyone in that villa will be dead.
Yeah.
So I mean, go
Exactly.
ahead, you can make all the money that you want, but you won't be alive to spend it.
We started the war on drugs back in the mid 80s, what, around 85, 86?
Right.
That's when the war on drugs started, I guess, somewhat 40 years ago about. And basically, they treated the war on drugs like a police state on drugs. It was all
Mhm.
police and lawyers and defense attorneys that we paid for to a degree of millions and billions of dollars that we paid for the drug dealers' defenses, everything, to a very high degree, where we made it to where it's more or less a rational or irrational state. Did they have the drugs? Was it this amount of drugs? Were they read their rights? This and that and that and this. It wasn't really treated like a military action. Now, the way it is now, 40 years later, I think we really do have a war on drugs actually might work.
Well,
Because, I mean, the issue here
the
is
war on
fentanyl.
drugs was the war on drugs was never going to work because the way they were fighting it, because
Yeah.
they were assuming that they had reliable partners in these other countries, not understanding that in many cases these narco traffickers had lined their pockets full of so much money they couldn't say no, while at the same time holding a gun to the back of their head. So
And
they had
politics don't
pretty
fear.
solid carrots and sticks going on there while
Right.
while they were getting something done. And then, so is it any wonder that it's never had any material, real effect? I mean, they'll get a bust here and there, and they'll get their photo ops with giant,
Yeah.
shipments of cocaine or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're not accomplishing anything because here we are. When we start, the most effective war on drugs thing that we did was going to Panama and pick up Manuel Noriega. And
Yes.
And what will happen now that we have these guys designated as a terrorist organization is not going to be that different from what
No, it
happened in
won't be.
Noriega.
And what happened to Noriega, more or less, the whole paradigm shifted to a different family and a different routes and everything else. But I think, and he was only one person, then they stopped at that. They didn't continue on with all the other leaders. I mean, they just stopped.
Yeah,
That was it.
if they would have kept doing that sort of thing, and not necessarily with the country, it just happened that in that case that Manuel Noriega
Yeah.
was the head guy. But if we find a country where we can prove that they're complicit at the top level
Right.
with all this narco and frankly human trafficking,
Like in Venezuela, they're talking about the leader of Venezuela,
Maduro, yeah,
Maduro, and they're talking about, I mean, they never did really go after the guys in Nicaragua and everything. And those guys were definitely involved in drug dealing to a degree.
but right. So if we start treating that narco trafficking like the attack on our sovereignty that it is,
It
then
is.
all of a sudden, all these problems will start going away.
It's put on real. It's not just a war on drugs; it's a war on human trafficking as well. I mean,
Yeah.
they're kidnapping. I mean, and it's also not just the South American community. A lot of the people who are from the Middle East and from Eastern Europe are coming that direction because they can't get in America any other way. They're on a no-fly list. They're on some other list where they can't just get to America. And that's the only way
So,
they can get in by sneaking in. They can't get in without sneaking.
right. Well, the coyotes now are advertising on TikTok
You know,
for their services in getting you into America through Canada.
exactly. Which is a new border issue.
So Canada, the trafficking, or not the trafficking, but the human trafficking and the immigration problems from Canada, you know, those are going to be a fight. They're going to continue to be a fight. The drug trafficking, the Canadians can't really fight us on that because they got nowhere to stand. There's no
Right.
sympathetic human interest in aiding narco traffickers.
No, I mean the whole human trafficking thing has got to stop. Period. I mean, I mean, they keep on talking about all these little children who are over here, and I mean, they have no idea where the heck they are. They don't know if they're in America, Venezuela, Asia. I mean, they don't know anything.
Right.
Just they're lost. They don't know where their parents are. They don't know where their families are. And it's just despicable and horrible that they're in that kind of situation. And I mean, yeah, we have to identify these groups as terrorist groups and eliminate them the same way that we did ISIS, Al Qaeda, and everything else, just to get them off
Well,
the map.
I don't know if those guys are great examples because they've actually retaliated on our soil. I don't think that the cartels are dumb enough to believe they can get away with that.
No, I don't think they will retaliate on our souls. I think they'll probably try to increase trafficking and everything else, but
Well, that's right. I mean,
what
they're
degree, I have no
criminals.
idea. Exactly.
They're criminals. What they're doing is already illegal. So it's not the legality of it that's going to dissuade them. It's the realization that there are consequences and nowhere to hide.
No, it's your place to hide it all.
Because if your country is providing sanctuary for you, their territorial sovereignty becomes meaningless if they're doing nothing to stop you.
Yeah, and I'm also happy with the Mayor Adams here in New York City for finally stopping it. Hopefully, the guy in Chicago, that little idiot of a mayor there, God, that guy's like annoying. He's like, they need to be protected. And
They're all
no,
stupid.
they don't. I mean, San Francisco needs to follow suit. All of California should step in line pretty quick. I mean, we already, they're already wasting the money we give them for the fires already. Let's not waste this circumstance here either. And real quick about the fires in California, I have no idea how the hell they're going to get ready for the Olympics. Yeah, I have no idea how the hell it's going to be ready by then. They're going slow. Have you been paying attention to how slow they're going? It is pathetically slow.
Well, that is a discussion for another time.
It is. Well, you guys, thanks a lot for staying tuned with us here tonight. I think we're going to wrap it up right now. I want everybody to subscribe, like us, friend us, share us, and overcome this algorithm that we are being faced with on a daily basis because we're conservative media. I follow up with that.
And that says that like, share, and subscribe. If you want to keep getting our perspective as people who've been behind the scenes for decades. This is how you do it. We're not the guys that try to they're going to try to tell you blame ourselves and get us ready for the next job, which is what most of the talking heads that you see on the media are doing. They're just trying to get ready for their next government job or their next big thing. We're trying to expose this stuff as we've seen it happen. We've been behind the scenes and watching this stuff happen. So
a lot of things.
Trust me when I say, that we know where the money is and we know where the bodies are buried. Now, that's what we all for this week, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. We'll see y'all soon.
Have a good evening.